Welcome to the Bonacci Performance Podcast. I'm your host, Jake Bonacci. Today, I am joined by the general manager and head coach of Extreme Couture here in Las Vegas, Mr. Eric Nicksick.
Wow, that was professional,
You
bro.
like that?
Yeah, that was good.
One time. How many takes?
That was one take, bro.
That's right.
That was one
Flawless.
take. That was good.
Well, thanks for giving us some of your time today.
Anytime, bro.
Yeah. Cheers to that.
Cheers.
Thanks for the
Is this
beer.
the first beer on the pod?
First beer on the podcast.
All right, let's go.
Yep.
What else did you expect? We got tequila, we got whiskey, we got everything else.
Could get cool.
We can take this thing down a whole different route.
Or just take it down literally.
We got a lot of dirt on some boys in this shit.
And the more we have, the more we'll dig.
Mm-hmm.
But you are one of the few people that I know that are born and raised in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
Most people came here at some point. They weren't actually born here.
Yeah.
So being born and raised in what I consider the real fight town, the only fight town, what was that experience like?
Man, it was a small town feel. It really was. Like I grew up on kind of all the areas of Vegas at the time. Like my grandfather lived right here. He lived off of Jones and Aquindo. He had about 4 or 5 acres of land. We had horses. And then my house was like a straight shot down Jones, which was a dirt road. Mm-hmm. And we kind of lived in what would be considered North Las Vegas. So it'd be like North Jones. But that you just stay on that road and you would hit our house and then Grandpa's house. But there was nothing. I could stand in my grandfather's backyard and literally see the Tropicana from there. That's where he worked. He was a pit boss. He would work graveyards, so I'd get up in the morning about 8 o'clock, and then I can see Grandpa coming home, and the dirt would be kicking up on the dirt road. And
Yeah.
So very much a small town feel. My mom's born and raised here as well, so like a lot of like old school Vegas lineage. I grew up around in the town. Grandfather worked for Benny Binion at the Horseshoe, and
Cool.
my great grandfather was there as well. So yeah, man, it's a very cool city in the regards of you do grow up fast, right?
Yeah.
Had a fake ID at a very young age. So by the time you hit 21, you're like, I'm over this, I'm
Yeah.
over the scene. So
Yeah. Were you sneaking in the casinos and stuff?
oh, bro, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there was a place like next to Green Valley High School off of Boulder Highway called like Joker's Wild.
I know where it is.
Yeah, oh yeah. I spent a month there one night. So we would do like 99-cent breakfast, and we would maybe ditch first or second period, go eat breakfast, hang
Yeah.
out. Then they had like penny craps. So we learned how to like play craps and
How old were you?
Oh, bro, 16, 17.
And you were
years old.
gambling.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah,
drinking.
drinking and gambling, and my dad was he worked at the Dunes. He was also our football coach, so he was around gambling a lot, and he learned at a young age how to split aces and play some craps and roulette and everything else.
Well, in my hometown, I thought it was cool to sneak out of school and hit McDonald's.
Yeah,
You were up here.
Yeah, we were going to Little Darlings.
Yeah, you were going. Yeah, you were going hard. Yeah, that's cool. Growing up, what sports did you compete in like high school?
Really, just mainly football. Grew up playing kind of like little basketball here, a little baseball, stuff like that. But football was my main focus. Essentially, just grew up on the football field with my dad, and I consider like all my uncles. My dad was at Valley High School. Some of my first memories that I can even think about was on the football field. Mm-hmm. So grew up around a lot of great coaches, a lot of great athletes. And in retrospect, now being a dad of not only daughters, but my son, I think that memory of being around hard work is the reason why I like to bring my kids into the gym. Mm-hmm. Not that I want them to be pro fighters or anything like that, but I just want them to see what championship mentality looks like and hard work that mentality looks like. And those are a lot of things I remember growing up on the football field around here with my dad.
Yeah. And my stepson's sitting right over there. He's director of production here today.
Yeah.
First day on the job.
Martin
so
Scorsese.
Far, so good. I would bring him to training as well
for
the same reasons. I
Sure.
bring him to a lot of Chris Algieri's training sessions, sparring sessions. I wanted him to see the process because I think our society now is so focused on instant gratification.
Bro.
And kids especially, everything's at their fingertips with the phones. Like, we didn't grow up with that. Mm-hmm. But I want him to understand the work that goes in behind a positive result.
It's such a great point you bring up. I think people fall in love with the product more than they fall in love with the process. Mm-hmm. And it's easy to lose sight of what the end goal is because you're so like, oh, I just want the end of it.
Yeah.
What's at the end of the rainbow? The real like love and the real joy is the process, the showing up every day. But when you can do it around a bunch of people that also inspire you and you enjoy it, and
Yeah.
like you and I talked about this, the one thing that you missed about extreme or the gym life was the fellas, the culture.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, the roast and the trash talk,
Yep.
but the camaraderie is the biggest thing I think, and bringing your kids around into that environment. You know, one, I think it bleeds over, but two, I also want them to understand what their dad does to the degree of how much I travel.
Mm-hmm.
And when I'm not home and I'm not around, and it's like, dude, if you worked in the military, you worked in special forces or whatever it may be, you might not be able to really tell them what you're up to or what you do. Here they get to see it.
Yeah.
So when they're deprived of your time, they now have an understanding of where your time goes.
Yeah.
Furthermore, when they start to be able to connect to the athletes, why I love my relationship with Francis and Dan and all my athletes for that matter. But now they see where their time goes, and the individuals that get it when it's not them.
Yeah.
Now they're emotionally invested in people like Francis and the rest of the crew. You know,
And it makes sense to them why dad's not home.
exactly right.
Yeah,
Exactly
validates
right.
your
So
absence.
those wins, like when Francis won the title, bro, my entire family is watching it, and everyone's crying, and it's not because dad won a title with this guy. It was because of like everyone sees how hard Francis works,
Yeah.
and he's now part of the family, and that integrated between the Nicksick and the Ngan. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that those things I think are also important. Why you bring him into the gym?
Yeah, that's awesome. So after high school, you went off to college to play
Yeah.
play football.
Yeah, I went up to UNR, went to Reno. I was a preferred walk-on. Essentially, what happened was I didn't do well on my SATs or any of my stuff, so it took a little while for me to get kind of figured out what I wanted to do. And finally, when I got to Reno, I was like, I still want to play ball. And then the situation that I was in was like, hey, you can go to these practices, you can do these things. But then it turned into like idle hands, bro. Like you'd have practice, you'd have school, and then it was just partying in the dorms.
Mm-hmm.
And I graduated young. I graduated 17 years old, and I was just not mature at all. My main focus was, chasing chicks, drinking beers, and getting in fights. And that, oddly enough, it didn't take long for me to get kicked out of school.
Yeah.
And I got, thrown in jail for a few days. Pops drove up, got me out of jail, and he drove me back home. And it was that talk with my old man, and he's like, "Well, what do you want to do?" And I said, "Man, I still want to play ball." So I had a couple scholarship offers still from some smaller schools. Contacted coaches, and they're like, "Can you be out here next week?" So Dixie Junior College, the way they were on quarter systems. They didn't do semesters.
Mm-hmm.
So it was cool. I was able to jump on in like the second quarter. I was able to go down there and get all my stuff done, practice right away, and be a part of the team. And being a part of like a smaller school really slowed everything down. And your main focus was lifting weights and playing football. And that helped me a ton, man. Helped me a ton.
How long were you there then?
It ended up being about a year and a half.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, about a year and a half in JC.
What year are we talking here?
98, 99.
Okay. And then how does football end then?
I started to have repercussions from concussions, but it was like the issue was I got one, and I knew I got my bell rung, but not to the capacity of really understanding like how bad it was.
Yeah.
And then I went practice again, and I got my bell rung, and then I played, and I got my bell rung. And then it wasn't until I got home from that weekend that like I couldn't regulate my temperature. It was still hot out. I remember it being like 110 degrees and I was freezing cold. And the way my apartment was at the time was like a duplex. Like when you walked in, you had the kitchen, and you went downstairs and it was my bedroom. And it was literally a cave. It was like no light in there whatsoever, other than like that one little strip that would come out from underneath.
Yeah.
And bro, like that little bit of light would just wreck my head. Now I had the worst headache, and I couldn't sleep, and I was like going through all this like anxiety and depression. Had no idea what was wrong with me, no idea. And then it was like a couple more instances that were happening, and then I started to like light, and I would vomit. So, and at the time, this is 99, right?
Yeah.
98, 99. There was probably some information out there about concussions, but none that was given to us.
Yeah.
So I didn't know what I was going through. And then I remember like just having these emotional roller coasters, bro, like suicidal thoughts. Like I didn't know how to handle myself. And at that point I decided it's like, I think it's time for me to go home because I don't know what's wrong with me. And dude, it literally took about 6 months for that to kind of start calming down. And I'll tell you what, man, just erratic nature. I did not feel myself. All the thoughts in my head and all those things. And we'll circle back to that experience that I had was a lot of the things that Campman dealt with at the end of his career. Mm-hmm. So when I look back at my situation, it was almost like God or fate putting me in that position to help Martin navigate through what he was dealing with when he started having his concussion issues.
Yeah.
You know, and it wasn't really until we started to figure out more about the science behind it. And then that's when I look back and go, oh, dude, I was freaking CT'd out, you know?
Yeah.
So that was really the kind of the writing on the wall for me. Was it was time to hang it up. You know, I had helmets and shoulder pads when I was 8 years old. And
yeah.
I wasn't going to the NFL or anything like that. So it was time to come home and figure out what I wanted to do with my life.
Cool. So post football, you come back to Vegas.
Yep.
Then what?
I'm back in school. Start fire science. Start applying for the fire department. I'm working at the bar. Start training here in 2006. So it was like kind of all like, you know, coming together a little bit. Mm-hmm. I get hired by City of North Las Vegas, City of Vegas. Scored a 98 on the test. I was number 2 on the list.
You're not bragging about that, are you?
No, not at all. No, I'm fucking bragging. I ended up being number 2 on the list out of like 6,000 people. So it was pretty much a shoe-in for me to get hired on. Really, I had my choice between City
That's a great
and
gig.
Great gig, right? Yeah. It was something I was really pushing for. I mean, it took me about 6 years to test and get it dialed in and do the oral boards correctly and be where I wanted to be. And then both departments hired me. I go through backgrounds, and that fight I get in Reno comes up on my backgrounds. So I listed it all. I put everything down, and unfortunately, due to the fight, they're like, we can't hire you because of this situation. And you know, this was probably about 8 to maybe 10 years after the fact, right? This was a 17-year-old kid in college. Now I'm like 26, 27 years old man. I have my first child. And that's kind of how I spun it too to the background investigator. I'm like, look, like these are experiences that I had in my life that only make me a better man that can help help guide people and whatever else. I'm not the same guy.
Yeah.
Well, they hold it against you. And furthermore, now me being a dad of daughters and adolescents and teens that are all around, I always tell them that story. It's like, man, those decisions that we make at this young of an age do have a ripple effect and can ultimately affect you later on in life. And that was the reason why I didn't get hired. And it was about a month or 2 after when Randy said, hey, what do you think about taking over the gym manager job?
Wow, interesting. Well, I remember back in 2007 when I came here that summer, you were here and you were helping Dennis Davis at that time, I remember.
Yep.
You were member number 1 here, correct?
Member number 1, bro.
Is it still in the system?
Probably. It's probably somewhere. We used to kick open the old database. You'd find my my little young mug over there.
So at that point, were you considering making a run at MMA too and just kind of seeing what happened? Like, what were you?
Not really. So remember how like this road never even went through.
Right.
I
told him that today because I almost got lost on it.
Yeah, like we couldn't even find this place.
Yes.
It was a rumor that Randy was opening up his own gym.
Yeah.
Right. And then a good friend of mine and I were kind of trying to hunt it down. And this is when Randy was getting ready for Tim Sylvia. Mm-hmm. So the gym was open for him, but it wasn't open to the public yet.
Right.
So I found it. I walked in, and then the first person to greet me was Mike Pyle.
Oh.
Yeah, great, right?
Yeah.
And Mike's like, hey, dude, we're not open yet, blah, blah, blah. Are you guys fighters? And this, the typical run-of-the-mill questions you would get, but from a Mike Pyle, from Dresden, Tennessee with his mullet and, talking shit. So he says, today's grappling day. If you guys want to grapple, you guys can come in and we can get some rolls. And I was like, okay, cool. And I had a little bit of grappling experience, but nothing to the caliber of what these guys do.
Yeah.
And I'm probably 230 pounds at the time and come in and Mike kicked the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Right? Kicked the shit out of me. And I was like, that was awesome.
Yeah.
And then he's like, do you want to come back tomorrow? And I was dumb enough to say yes.
Yeah.
And so I would come in when I could. And then finally, Randy opened it, I think, to the public in 2007.
Right after the Sylvia fight.
Right. No, right before.
Right before, you're right.
Yeah, February. And then he fought in, fought in March. This guy's picking his boogers in our window.
Yeah, what's he thinking?
That was awesome. Yeah, so and then that's when we opened the gym, and essentially, I think it was Val and Scott, and
Yep.
they were all here and
Yep.
signed up. Member number one.
But the first guy that you were kind of hands-on with was that Dennis. You were part of his training camps, I remember.
I mean, dude, I was just a body, man, a fly on the wall, just
Yeah.
trying to learn. That's all it was. But yes, definitely, Dennis, I think, came pretty soon after we opened, maybe like 3 months after we opened.
Mm-hmm.
And for the listeners, the gym, the interesting thing about the gym, or I think what drew a lot of people in, was all of the coaches were the fighters.
Yes, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, you get to train with Gray Maynard and John Alessio, and
They got free memberships.
they got
but
free
had a coach.
memberships,
Yeah.
and then had a coach.
Yep.
And very rarely did they ever coach.
Right.
I think
Yeah.
John Alessio made me jump rope for 45 minutes straight one time. So, but yeah, that was kind of like the cool selling point of being at Extreme. And then Dennis ended up showing up, and him and I really hit it off and became best friends, and just essentially just took me under his wing. So I was training a lot under Dennis and just learning as much as I could from him.
Did you grow up a fight fan?
Huge. 93.
Boxing, I'm assuming.
Boxing. My grandfather was a huge boxing fan. So the ABC boxing whatever night, I'd go to Grandpa's house and we'd sit and watch boxing.
Yeah.
And he was a big boxing fan. I used to box with him all the time as a kid. And then 93, when UFC comes out, you're buying the VHS tapes and just practicing all these moves on all your friends and stuff. And like, I was like the only one that was like, dude, let me try this on you. And all the guys were like, bro, it's enough of this shit, And so I was kind of hooked on it.
So you were a fight fan growing up. I mean, you kind of have to be, born and raised in Vegas.
Bro, big time.
Who were some of the fighters that you liked?
I mean, definitely Randy. But early on.
Boxing too, though.
Oh, boxing. So Sugar Ray, for sure.
Yeah.
I think more because of my grandfather. Like, he was, anytime you could put him on, he wanted to watch. Like,
Leonard?
Yeah. And then as I got older, obviously, like, Lennox Lewis to me was amazing. I'm trying to think who else. I loved Mosley. I loved Bernard Hopkins.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think when it came to MMA, Tank Abbott was like my first.
Really?
Like, oh, dude, this dude's crazy. I remember Tank like took a guy down or had a guy on his back and like put his knee on the guy's head and started like picking up the cage, like lifting, like using the cage to like smash this dude's head into the canvas. This guy's like eyes are just getting smashed. I'm like, oh, dude, I love this guy. This guy's awesome. Yeah, so Tank Abbott was like kind of like my first UFC like hero guy.
The VHS.
Oh, bro,
going to rent
that
the VHSs.
Yeah.
Actually, I remember the first VHS too I watched in Ken Shamrock.
Oh, bro.
Ken Shamrock and Hoist Gracie, of course. And Shamrock was Jack, so I liked him. He
yeah.
had the physique behind it. And then Frank, his adopted brother or whatever, I was a fan of him because he was jacked.
They weren't juicing at all back then, were they?
I don't think so.
Yeah,
no,
they're probably all right.
did that. But the guy that got me into watching MMA was actually Tito.
Yeah.
Tito Ortiz.
Yeah.
Back in 01, 02,
Yep.
when he fought Ken Shamrock.
Yeah.
That was the one that I had to see that fight.
Yeah.
That was the first one that was a pay-per-view buy.
And that was like, dude, remember like pay-per-views were like every 3 months.
Yes.
You know what I
Big,
mean? Like,
they were stacked.
Yeah, it's stacked.
Yeah, stacked.
That was it. There was no fight nights. There was nothing else. Like, you get this one pay-per-view and there was like 12 fights and they were all
$30.
Yeah, $30. Exactly.
Yeah, great. And then I watched, the second one I got was Tito and Randy.
Mm-hmm.
Randy whooped his ass. Yeah.
Spanking him.
Yeah. But I grew up a huge boxing fan. When I used to, my dad's side of the family moved to Vegas in the early 80s, so they talk about the old town, the old times, and you know,
Barry's boxing and
how the city was just so like a small town, like you said. And I used to, when I would stay with my aunt and uncle, one of the things when I came was a must. I'd ask if they drive me by Mike Tyson's house.
Oh yeah, right off of Tomiyasu.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was a big deal.
Yeah.
Like coming from Ironman, Michigan, I'm like, oh, that's Mike Tyson.
That's so funny you said that, dude. I remember doing the same thing. Right off of Tomiyasu, he had that house.
Yep.
Did you catch any lions?
No.
No tigers?
Couldn't see much. Man. It was a dirt road, too.
It was a dirt road.
I remember that.
Yep.
Because Wayne Newton was next door.
Yeah, he was right on the corner.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that was like a must, and just being in awe as a kid, because Tyson's the one that 80s and 90s.
Oh, you're just enamored by the guy.
Yeah. And yeah. I think there's two things you knew as a fight fan, which Muhammad Ali was the greatest, and Mike Tyson was the baddest man on the planet.
Right.
Those are the two things that every kid in the 80s and 90s knew.
Yeah.
Right?
And that was a different vibe back then. If you were around fight night in Vegas, bro, it just, you can you could feel it.
Did you ever go down there for any of those fights in the 90s?
All the
yeah,
time.
like the Tyson
Oh,
ones?
bro, all the time. So crazy story. 96, we played Long Beach Poly. They're number 2 in the country. They come out to play us. We beat them on a Friday night. Saturday is, I think, Tyson. God damn it, who did he fight? It might have been Lewis.
That was in Tennessee they fought.
No, okay, so might have been Holyfield.
What year are we talking?
96?
Been Holyfield.
It would have been Holyfield.
Or, no, it could have been Bruce Seldon before Holyfield.
It was a big fight, but that was the night Tupac got shot.
That was Bruce Seldon.
Okay, that was the night Tupac got shot. Right? So we were literally, so we beat the number 2 ranked team in the country.
Yeah.
And we go on, like, all of us are like, dude, we're going out. Like, it's a fight night weekend. Tyson's fighting. You know, it's every celebrity's in town. And we're, like, on the strip, and Tupac gets shot, like, off a trop, like, by SRO, like, some nightclub. Like, literally, like, we're out. You know, and this all pops off, like, yeah, so we're all around that, like, that area, you know, when he got killed, we're like, holy shit, bro, looking back at that, yeah.
That's back to your Vegas upbringing. That only happens in one place in the United States of America. That's right here.
Yeah.
So, back to the coaching evolution.
Sure.
You were helping out with Dennis, you're helping anybody you can, being a body.
Yeah.
We worked together with Ryan towards my end of my time here. And then the gym, unfortunately, in about 2012, kind of did this.
Sure.
A lot of the pro fighters either retired or were looking for a change. And that's, Randy had retired. I think that kind of changed things around here. Manager was different, and that changed things. And the gym was at probably its only low period ever.
Yeah, I agree.
And I ended up moving in 2013. Right after that, I took a different job. And then you became manager when?
Couldn't even tell you.
Like 14, probably 13, late 13.
13 maybe. I don't even remember.
It may have been like right after I left.
Yeah.
But
because Gil was my first hire, because it was like replacing you.
Yeah.
Like literally, like when I took the job, it was like, okay, you got to hire an
Okay,
SEC
so then
guy.
it must have been the same time I was leaving.
Yeah, like you had already taken the job.
Okay.
And I remember you were already like out the door.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that was April 2013. What was your plan of attack coming in here with the gym at a low spot and you're in charge now?
You know, it was interesting because I'll never forget this conversation I had with Campman, who
Martin Campman,
right? And he was almost kind of like, I don't think you're going to be able to fix this, sort of thing, right? And it wasn't his exact words, and I took it as a challenge. And I was like, I feel like there's been a culture shift. And I think there's some things that we can do better as a team that I've always noticed. The fighters were very individualized, and deservedly so. I get that. But what I felt like we lacked was, we are a team sport up until the cage door closes. But like, guys would fight and they would just leave and they'd take off. And they weren't here to help anybody else. Right. And, you know, the manager before, I think he lost touch of what it took to be on the mats. I felt like he was crunching numbers and was trying to fix things in here. But the reality was that we needed to be fixed out there. And when Randy and I went and grabbed a beer and talked about what he wanted for the gym and how he envisioned the gym, it gave me a lot of good resources, but also like an idea of how I wanted to attack it and which people we wanted to include and bring along. Like, you know, Dennis was running the pro team. He's still doing that. He's still a guy, but he needed help.
Yeah.
We talked a lot about bringing on Robert Fallis, what he can bring to the table, which pieces of coaching or fighters that we wanted to try to bring in here. It was Danny Davis. It was like Bristol Marunde, right? You know, guys that we can kind of like these workhorses, if you will. They might not ever be world champions in the UFC, but when you can build a standard and a culture around these types of individuals, they're going to raise and elevate the rest of the people around them. Then it's going to be contagious.
Yeah.
And all of us were on the same page. That was the first time I really felt like every single person in the gym, as far as the leadership went, myself, Dennis, Fallis, Ray, and obviously Ray has always been a huge integral part of this gym.
Yeah.
And getting Ray on board Where like, remember Ray was fighting World Series of Fighting, and guys were all over at Syndicate or Bouncer, or it wasn't even Syndicate. It was like Warrior or whatever, Zions or something like that. Maybe it was Syndicate. I don't remember. But Ray's like, I am not going anywhere. Like, I'm staying here. Yeah. Which led Brad to be like, okay, well, I'm staying here. Evan Dunham, Campman. So I'm like, well, this is all we need. Just give me this core group of guys, and we'll build something off of it. Yeah. And all I remember telling him was like, if all of us can stay bought in and follow a structure and follow a standard, everyone else is going to follow that lead. And dude, we're going to be, we'll rise up.
So you get your core guys together, like you just explained. What next after that from a general manager's perspective?
Set a standard. Coach Follis had this great team meeting. And I remember thinking, like now, today, I think back about the way he approached the team, and he posed the question. It wasn't like, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to do it. He asked a question to all of us in the room. He says, how do you guys want to be remembered as a gym and a team? And what kind of standard do you guys want to have? And we all started to answer these questions ourselves. And one of the questions he said, do you guys want to be world champions? And of course, everybody in the room's like, yeah, I want to. He's like, great. Just what I wanted to hear. Here are the things that I think we can do as a team to help make those things come true. And if we show up on time, if we have the proper gear, if we're doing this, if we're doing this, or do this. And then he started talking about the things that take no talent. He goes, we're doing the things that take no talent. We're making those things hard in a sport that's inherently hard already.
Yeah.
So if we can do the easy things right, the hard things we can focus on, and we can get better in those areas. Yeah. But by doing these little things right, and when you start thinking about it, when he started to explain, like people are like, who cares if I'm 5 minutes late? He goes, okay, yeah, you're going to be 5 minutes late, but you miss out on 25 reps in 5 minutes. And then if you're 5 minutes late for five practices for an 8-week camp, he starts doing the math, and you miss out on 10,000 reps. Yeah. Then you lose a close split decision, and then you blame your coaches because you lost a split decision.
Wow.
But the reality of it is you were 5 minutes late.
That's good stuff.
Right? So you sit there and you're like, oh, shit.
Yeah.
Or guys don't have tape on their gloves. Well, you're telling me that you're not going to take care of me.
Right.
Your partner. I have tape on my gloves, but you don't have tape on yours. So when I get rug burn or rash or a cut that turns into staph, now I'm off the mats because I have staph. Now you don't have a training partner.
Yeah.
So you start to understand like all these ripple effects that just the little things have on your team alone.
Yeah.
But furthermore, what does it show the guy next to you, right? Remember when Martin was out of his fight against Rich Franklin?
Yeah.
Right?
Blew his knee, yeah.
No, that was when he got cut. Was it when he got cut, right?
No.
He blew his knee out against Rich, but remember the time he got cut?
Yeah, who was that? I don't remember.
But the guy didn't have knee pads on.
Yeah.
So Martin's out of this fight because he gets a gash this big across his head.
Yep.
So people are like, well, I won't throw knees. Yeah, that's not the point.
Yeah.
The point is he has knee pads on to protect you.
Yeah.
That's the point.
Yeah.
So once we started to buy in and understand the reasons behind the standard, when Follis passed away, that was the first thing I said. I said, guys, how do we keep his memory alive as we continue that standard?
Yeah.
The standard shouldn't matter on who's the leadership here.
Right.
The standard is a standard, and that's how we should set it.
Right. So from that point, you took over as head coach.
I mean, we're all the head coaches in here.
Yeah. But I mean, you have the title. People think of Extreme Couture, they think of you. They do. That's just the reality of it. And your career went like this. Mm-hmm. From that point on, you started, all these big names started coming back, and clearly they come to work with you. I know I've had guys from Florida fly here. They come get working with you while they're here. So you've gained that respect from the whole frickin' MMA community during this process.
Yeah.
Which is really impressive to see. And I saw it. I watched it from Florida.
Yeah.
I watched the gym come back. The next thing you know, every weekend you're on TV in a corner.
Yeah.
I'm like, holy cow.
We're working, right?
Yeah. Like you guys were getting it done. And then you get a title. Back at the gym. Misha Tate won the title.
Yeah, Misha won.
Francis, of course. And
Aljo, Strickland. We had Lance Palmer.
Oh, the PFL
champ.
Yeah.
Then I had Rafion Stotts came out and did camps with us, and we won a title in Bellator. Then Patchy beat Rafion. That whole thing.
So how many belts then?
9 total.
9 total since like 2014.
Since 2014. Yeah.
That's impressive, man.
Yeah. Thank you, bro.
We'll hit one of that.
Cheers to
Yeah.
German beer.
It's good. Never
Okay.
had it, but good. It's a little. I'm used to Miller Lite because I'm a classy guy. But is it still an open door policy here? Can anybody kind of come in here? Is it a team vote with the core
Yeah,
guys, or how's that work?
man, it's something I think that like, you know, I need to be better at. And I look back at the way Randy was with it, and Randy was always like, there's no secrets in MMA. He was very much an open door person.
Yeah.
Him being my mentor, I kind of followed that lead. And I didn't see really an issue why. Unless you cannot follow the standard or you're a detriment to the team, then
Or a potential matchup, maybe too.
a potential matchup, which I think as of late has happened more often than not because we are like a successful gym and
Yeah.
more people want to come and train. But there's some things I think I have to be better at navigating because we have so many guys in here.
Yeah.
And the last thing in the world I want is them to feel like, oh, my next opponent might be walking in and train. So more communication on my end on, filtering that a little bit better, I think, like hey, making sure this guy's vetted in and we can have him come in and train. But you also lose out on training with some world-class talent. Like when Hamzat was here for 6 months,
Yeah.
dude, we all learned and we all got to train with him. And, although him and Sean are like butting heads now, they were like best friends when they were training together. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you have those experiences that I think is important. And bro, you really get to meet some great people along the lines,
Yeah.
right? Like, Michael Johnson and I, for example, I'm thinking of guys from like back in Florida, like guys that I love and respect, and, Rashad and people that would come in, Anthony Johnson.
Yeah.
I get to work with these guys and train with these guys, but you get to see different ideologies, approaches to the game plans, strategies, things like that.
Yeah.
And if you don't open your doors, then you're limiting yourself to only what's in your room, and you're not really stepping outside your comfort zone.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes total sense. What has been the greatest challenge of both of your roles here as GM and as coach? Because you're trying to keep a lot of people happy. You've got a lot of members, and you've got pro fighters.
Yeah, I think you essentially said it, man. I think that you're never gonna make everybody happy, and the one thing that John Hahn told me, the guy I took over the job for, that he said, there's people, and he didn't say this in a derogatory way, but he said you're gonna lose a lot of friends because of some of the decisions you're gonna have to make. And then I started to have this saying too, where people will never understand the decisions I had to make with the choices that I had, right? And they might feel a certain way about it, like, oh, you didn't do this, you didn't do that, and at the end of the day, man, you're just trying to make the gym and the team better to the best of your capabilities. And sometimes somebody's going to get upset about it along the lines.
Yeah.
Those things are going to happen. We all want to be loved. We all want to be liked.
Yeah.
And the reality of it is if that's your mentality, then probably not a lot of people are going to like you because of that.
Yeah.
Right.
Throughout the course of this journey for you, have you had one of those wow moments, like maybe you're at an event or something, you're kind of like, holy cow, look where I'm at right now?
Right up there, dude.
Yeah.
Right up there.
The Francis versus Tyson Fury fight. That was wild.
Because, bro, it was
That
one of
picture
those.
of you and Mike Tyson's cool.
That was pretty dope, right?
Yeah.
I got to say that because MMA was like you're used to it by now, right? Like the titles and all those things. Like, yes, every single portion of that was like amazing and such great memories.
Yeah.
But when I wasn't the head coach for boxing. Boxing is not my forte. I don't know anything. I'm just there with like my buddy.
Yeah.
And when you're friends with somebody like Francis and you spend a lot of time with them and you speak your goals into existence. And in 2020, I remember sitting in here during COVID, no one's in here, and him and I just damn near daydreaming, bro, and just talking about one day I want to fight Tyson Fury. And I'm like, man, how awesome, right? That's, not like shit. You never shit on them. You're like, that's never going to happen. You're like, dude, how cool would that be?
Yeah.
And we had this like 10, 15-minute conversation, just me and him, talking about like, man, how cool to be at this or how da. And so we walk first and we're in the ring and he's leaning up against the ropes and he's got his arms around the ropes and I'm standing next to him. and him and I are literally seeing Tyson Fury hit this
That's
walk.
crazy, man.
And I got this big old smile on my face, and I looked over and was like, damn, Bubba, you did it. Like, look, you're fighting Tyson
Here
Fury.
he comes.
Here he comes. And he's just leaning up against the ropes, and he looks back at me, and he just got this big smile on his face. And he goes, we did it, Bubba. And I was like, bro, like, how I got goosebumps, bro.
That's
Like,
cool, man.
like, how cool is that? And like, and anybody that knows Francis, like, I never really see him get nervous ever. He might have been super nervous in that moment, but when I felt his energy there, it was like, I belong here.
Yeah.
This is exactly what I dreamt about. I'm gonna go out and perform.
Yeah.
All the anxiety and nerves that I have about like one of my best friends going to fight against Tyson Fury,
Yeah.
all went away. I'm
Yeah.
like, bro, we're playing with house money.
Yeah.
Let's go, bro. Let's have some fun. So when he knocked him down in the third round, I was like, holy shit, we're in this fight. This was so much fun. Yeah, dude, that was crazy.
I was watching that fight with a group of guys, and one of my friends said, when you guys were standing in the corner before introductions, he's like, why has he got Eric in his corner? Eric's an MMA coach. I go, why wouldn't he? I'm like, I'm like, it's not all about X's and O's though.
Yeah,
at that point, like everything you're saying, like the bond you have with the guy. I'm like, Eric makes him feel comfortable. He feels better with Eric there. He's gonna be a better fighter. He's gonna be relaxed. I'm like, it's not all about X's and O's. He's got a boxing coach there too. Like,
sure, yeah, and that was a lot of the things too leading up to that was, you know, I was helping him trying to find the boxing coach that he wanted, but I was always like in the back of his, you know, in his ear telling him, I think Dewey can do this job.
mm-hmm.
You know, I really do. I was like, because he doesn't trust a lot of people.
Yeah.
And I was like, you bring in a boxing coach, and then like it took me 2.5 years to even earn your trust.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now you're going into arguably the biggest fight of your life because of the circumstances of leaving the UFC and now going to fight arguably the best heavyweight to ever do it.
Yeah.
Why are we going to introduce a new person into this mix?
Yeah.
Right? Like, but I'll do whatever you want. I'm here for you. So, and I knew I'd be in the corner. I didn't know what role, you know, but I mean, dude, it was actually, I wouldn't say easier, but like with boxing, you only focus on a couple things. Right. You know, you're not worried about the takedown, you're not worried about kicks. Yeah. So he went out and boxed Joe Joyce. This was, I think we were fighting Junior Dos Santos. So it was like 2018, 2019. And we went out and boxed Joe Joyce because Joe needed a boxing partner for some rounds. So I met him down there and we went and watched him box. And the first round, he tried to outbox Joe and Joe put it on him. And then round 2, I said to him, I go, bro, work on our shit. Like start southpaw and hit some step overs and just be erratic. Because I think you're trying to outbox the boxer and we don't have any of that. Yeah. But if we can kind of get into some of our MMA stuff that we work on, bro, so he comes out and hits him with a right cross and then rolls into a whole new stance and lands a big left overhand on Joe Joyce because Joe didn't really see it coming. And Joe was like, whoa. So the next round, I was like, hey, because we were doing all the Bang Ludwig stuff. I'm like, hey, try hitting a switch cross. And he does it. Boom, switch cross, cross. And Joe Joyce is like, oh, shit. So then, right then and there, like we started to realize, like, if you do box, let's have a different approach because you're never going to be able to catch up to the skills that these guys have. Yeah. They've been boxing since they can walk. But if we can make it erratic and make it different.
Unconventional.
And then, so when we finally got the Tyson Fury fight, the first guy I called, Chris Algieri. Oh. Because Chris boxed, did MMA, and kickboxed. Yeah. I said, Chris, call me crazy, but ask, like, do you feel like this is a good approach? And he goes, it's your only approach, bro. It's your only approach. He goes, and you're right, you're spot on. He goes, if you can be unorthodox and erratic and chaotic, the boxers that are smooth and clean, as we know, like Jay calls them boogers, right? Like if you're a booger in here, then you have a hard time on really understanding what's coming at you and from different angles. So, and that's why I think maybe Francis had some success in his fight because he was trying to kind of, I guess, get Tyson Fury uncomfortable with his rhythm and his patterns and things like that. And he did a great job, man.
Yes, he did. So I thought Francis won that fight. Yeah, I mean, come on. Both.
I think the world did.
I mean, geez. And that has got to be one of the most shocking upsets in a fight I've absolutely ever watched. Ever. Between boxing and MMA. That fight, I could not believe what I was seeing when he dropped him right away. Yeah. And then you kind of expect Tyson to settle in and come back at him, and he just never found his rhythm because of that being unorthodox, awkward. Sure. Some of that stuff you just never seen before, the way he moved, and then. But back to you coaching him and being in the corner. To me, that was like a feather in the cap for you. The fact that he wanted you there as a support system and as a coach, of course, but as a support system, you guys had this bond, feels comfortable. He's going to be a better fighter with you there.
Sure.
But the fact that, yeah, you're in the corner of a boxing match, the biggest one in a long freaking time as an MMA coach.
Yeah.
That was, I mean, because you're a pure coach, regardless of what it is. You're a good coach. That's just, you have that.
Yeah.
You have it. Some people don't.
And I mean, honestly, I remember going into the last round or two, and it wasn't like technical things. It was just like the same when he fought Gone. It was like Dewey and I just telling him, like, bro, like, we're right, like all the things that help motivate him. A couple little things here and there, but it's like, dude, we were just watching history in the making, and we were like a couple buddies all hanging out together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
not to mention too, you had like the who's who at the audience of that fight.
Oh,
too.
dude, it was nuts.
That was in Abu Dhabi.
That was in Saudi Arabia.
Saudi Arabia.
It was in Riyadh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, dude. It was the who's who. Anybody and everybody was there for that fight. It was nuts.
Who have been some of your mentors along the way from a coach's perspective?
Definitely my dad, my Uncle David. Those two, I think I spent probably the most amount of time with when it came to the sport of football. But I think my dad, in educating me on delivery, on how to speak to people. When you play quarterback, I remember when I played quarterback, there was situations where I would have one approach to every player, and where my dad's like, listen, as a quarterback, he always said you have to be a ball of janitor keys. You have to be able to open many different doors. He goes, you can't yell at this individual. You can't grab this guy by his face mask. How you speak to people or how they're going to respond.
Yeah.
And I think that helped me a ton. And essentially Randy and Ray, Dennis, of course. But I think when you look at the MMA side of things, the amount of information and knowledge that I learned from Randy over the years, having him at the just pick up the phone and call the Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Right? And learning more about the mental side and his approach to the fight game. And then you pick up the phone, you call Ray Sefo, and you just get depths of knowledge when it comes to the striking and the understanding of the sport. And then Dennis, who can tie it all together, Robert Follis, right? I've been very, very fortunate to have these individuals in my life, and still to this day, being able to pick up the phone and call Jay Huron or any of these guys for that type of information that I need.
What about within the sport, coaches of other teams? Have you studied anybody else over the years?
Tons.
And who do you think has the best mind?
In MMA.
In MMA.
I mean, I always consider Henry like a big brother to me. I think he's a guy that I've always leaned on. Trevor Whitman, John Crouch, Tyson Chartier, Elliot Marshall. I think all those guys to me we have this Brandon Gibson, definitely Brandon. But we have this fraternity that I think that I love so much is, as you know, it's hard because there's not a lot of people that really understand what the coaches go through in this sport. And to be able to pick up the phone and talk to somebody that gets it, that knows how much time you spend with your athletes, how much time you spend away from your family, how much time you spend on the road. And then in a sport where a fighter can just up and leave you on a moment's notice for no reason or no rhyme or reason or anything. And how do you kind of bulletproof your heart a little bit?
Yeah.
The problem that I've found is it makes you want to change who you are because somebody hurt your feelings or broke your heart. And then you realize it's that makes me who I am.
Yeah.
I don't want to change who I am and rob the other people that are here because of that, right? I don't want to change that.
Yeah.
But it's also you just want to protect your time in a lot of ways, right? So being able to pick up the phone and talk to those types of individuals who've all went through the same things that I go through, and be able to lean on some of their advices and things like that, I think is such a great attribute.
Yeah. I put up a thing on my Instagram, ask Eric Nicksick any question. If you could, what would you ask him? I picked a couple. I got some that were really stupid and I'm not going to repeat, but there's some good ones.
We should do those.
Describe a time when a fighter of yours won as a result of a perfectly executed game plan. That one's coming from Jeremy. Like a fight where you had a game plan set in stone and you saw it come right out. And
as a coach, you can't take credit because it has to be executed by the fighter in the moment, right? You can have the perfectly put together game plan and a guy goes away from it and you look like an asshole.
Yeah.
And vice versa. You can have a game plan and he goes off and does something different and wins. It's very difficult to kind of gauge those things. But to me, the credit always goes to the athlete because they're the ones in there that are executing it. But I would say for me, the one that I felt the most in sync and like everything went as planned was Stipe and Francis too. Like I can go back and pull up the corner audio and it was like playing a video game, bro. It was nuts.
That's cool.
It was nuts. I'll find you some of the clips, but just every little thing that Dewey, myself, Kamaru, even like Randy, when Randy was in here helping us, all just went to fruition. Everything that we expected out of Stipe, all of our footworks, all of our cage control traps, some of the switch stance series stuff, just boom, 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 boom. And like, I equated it to this in football when you come out with your first 15 plays.
Yeah.
Like your script, right?
Yeah.
And it was like every fucking play was just getting
worked.
20 yards. You're like, holy shit, like this is crazy. This is working.
Yeah.
You know? And then the other side of that coin is like, don't get too excited because in this fight game, one thing can change the whole setup. But to me, that was probably the fight where I was like, wow, game plan and everything was working perfectly. It was great.
Perfect. Have you ever removed, this is a good one. Have you ever removed yourself from a fighter's training camp due to a conflict? From Kurt.
Yeah.
I have twice.
Yeah. I've done a couple times.
Unfortunately.
Sometimes I feel like, you know, it's not like where it becomes personal. It's just like, hey man, maybe we just don't mesh, and that's okay, right? Maybe we're better in as friends or in this positions rather than coach and fighter, you know. And if I feel like I'm a detriment, then what's the point, you know? Why am I going to hurt this any further? So yeah, there's been a few where I was like, hey, you know what? I think it's time for me to take a step back and cut my losses, you know. At some point, you got to walk away from the blackjack table.
Yeah. For me, it was because I just didn't believe in the rest of the process.
Sure.
And I didn't think what I was doing made any sense.
Sure.
And there were high-profile events coming up, to say the least.
Yeah.
Which sucks. It's not fun being in that position.
Yeah. No, I know. But at what cost, right? Like,
yeah.
It's like, man, you're trying to put your product on the line. They're not believing in whatever it may be, or you're not believing in them, or there might not be.
Well, it's such an odd mix, though. MMA, you got so many coaches involved with one person.
Sure.
And to have everybody on the same page, it doesn't always work.
Sure.
Right?
And a lot of times, too, I think that where people fail is the coach, like the staff, if you will. Everybody wants to be the lead singer. And when a fighter appoints, or the CEO, if you will, the fighter directs what they want, and if you can't fall in line with that, then all you're going to do is cause more problems, right? Because we've seen that before in the past. There was coaches that were like, oh, don't work with this guy, work with me. Why are you over here? Well, don't do that. So
I want to walk up to the stage where you have weigh-ins. I don't want that guy to. Like stupid, egotistical stuff, right?
So you know what, like for me now, like I remember those days. Like there was guys that would be mad that they weren't walking on the stage with this guy.
Like, where are your priorities?
Where are your priorities? It's win the fight.
Yeah.
Win the fight.
Right.
So now for me, and because I've learned from that, I always tell the brother or the dad or the family friend, hey, you're going on stage with your, because now they get to have this experience that they're never, because they're not going to be in the corner.
Right.
What do you care?
Yeah.
Like, it takes 2 hours out of your day to have to sit on a bus and go down there and do all this fucking song and dance.
And nobody cares who's walking up with them.
No one gives a shit. But it was like literally like Henry and I were laughing about it, because Henry and I will sit back in the hotel and have a whiskey and hang out in the bar, hotel bar, while you send the strength and conditioning coach or somebody, because in that role for them, it means a lot to them. They're not going to be in the corner, so now they get their little bit of shine. So go up there and go. Meet me at the bar.
I was never one that gave a shit about any of
like,
that.
why would you? It's all about the results at the end of the day.
Next one here from Mike. In the world of MMA coaches, who do you think has the best coaching mind?
Oh, man. You know, I think they all do, right? Like, it's how can you get your fighter to buy into what you're trying to sell for that game plan at that moment? Off the top of my head, I mean, to me, Faraz, Greg Jackson, you know, a lot of these guys, like
Flawless was incredible.
Flawless
too,
was
though,
incredible, man.
Yeah.
You know, Matt Hume, Matt Hume, like a guy I look back at and you're like, wow, man, that guy can coach.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot, and I hope I'm not missing on
Sean
anybody.
Tompkins, a great coach.
Sean, I think was a master motivator too.
Sean, I was going to bring this up earlier and it slipped my mind. Sean had a unique way of creating a team
Sure.
and making you feel like you're better than you were.
Sure.
And that's what you bring to the table
Yeah.
too.
It's funny because Gunderson told me the same thing.
I saw that from,
Yeah.
it's so similar to me because I was around him a lot.
Yeah.
But I saw what you did with this team from 2014 to today. And that's what Tompkins did when
Yeah.
he came here. It was very spread out
Sure.
when he first came in that summer of 07.
Mm-hmm.
The next thing you know,
Yeah.
he was a very, very, very good at creating that closeness.
Yeah. Toughness, a grittiness
Yep.
about him, you know.
Like you're either with us or
Yeah, run with us or run from us.
Yep,
That
that's
the
how he
mentality.
was.
Yeah.
yeah.
No, I appreciate that too, man, because I thought the world of Sean.
Yeah. Last question. As a coach, you've been to the pinnacle of the sport. What are your goals from here?
Man, to be a good dad, to be a good husband, I think those things are all very relevant in my life right now because this is McKenna's last year at home.
Mm-hmm.
And I think seeing her grow up on these mats and knowing like how fast things go. So I think just being more present for everybody, being around, but continually to build better men and women out of this gym. I'm very proud of looking at guys like Danny Ige from where he started to where he is now.
Yeah.
Brad Tavares from where he started to where he is now. These individuals that when they leave the sport, because this is only a finite amount of time that we're involved, that we're all still connected. They're all really good human beings. They're all very good fathers. When I see Pyle, when I see Campman, and when I talk to these guys, and knowing that they're better off or better than when we left them, right?
Yeah.
Like I think that's important. So, the goals of chasing world titles are always going to be there. But I think just the having the fingerprints on better human beings at the end of the day is definitely my goals.
Great answer. All right, man. Thank you very much for your time.
Love you, bro.
Cheers to you.
Cheers.
Thanks for everything.
Always.